Hi there. What I'm going to do in this short video is just give a little bit of help, extra help, in making our face masks. So, in the little box, you're going to find a piece of fabric. That will be enough to make, each piece of fabric will be enough to make 2 masks. A little bit of bias binding, just to put around the edges, and some elastic, which will go round the ears. Okay, so the first thing to do is to take out your pattern. So the pattern is actually in 2 pieces. This side here is the actual pattern that we're going to use on the fabric, and the instructions are here. So the first thing to do is just cut round the black line here to have the pattern in one piece. So take your piece of fabric. So these are all made with cotton. It's always a good idea to give any piece of fabric you're going to use a quick iron before you start. Okay, so what we want to do is place the pattern onto your fabric. It doesn't matter if you place it on with the pattern up or down, it makes no difference at all. And what we're going to do is pin this pattern onto your fabric and then cut round. Now, before you unpin the pattern, what you have to do is snip into each of the little triangle notches on the pattern. So you can see these here. So they indicate for us where we fold, where we put the pleats in. So just take your scissors and just snip. You don't have to cut out a full triangle, just snip in to each of the notches. Okay, the first part we're going to deal with from the pattern are the 2 centimetre seam allowance at the top and bottom of your pattern. So you've got 2 centimetre seam allowance. The way you'll deal with that, turn your fabric over and you're going to fold in 1 centimetre and then fold in 1 centimetre again. So that's going to stay in place, and what you'll need to do is sew just along here to hold that in place, and do that at the other end as well. Okay, once you've turned over your seam edges, you'll notice that your mask now sits on the lines shown here and here. Okay, now we have the fun part, which is folding the pattern. So this is where the notches come in when we start to do the folding. So make sure your pattern's up the right way, where you should have a notch here and the notches corresponding all the way up here. Okay, so I've turned the fabric over to the wrong side facing, and the fold here we can ignore for now, we'll deal with that later. What we're going to do is put in these pleats here. So we had a little notch at the top and bottom of the pleats on the pattern, so if you find those on your fabric, and what you're going to do is lift the bottom notch and match it up with the top notch. Okay, so just lift the bottom notch and match it up with the top notch. Now what you can do here is you can either iron that and it'll hold it, or you can pin it. Okay, so when you've done your first 3 folds, you should end up with it looking like this. Like I say, you can iron it, you can pin it, or you can do both. Once you've done the bottom 3 pleats, move up and do these 2 pleats at the top. You'll notice that the top one actually folds right up to the line at the top here. Okay, once you've done all your folding of your pleats, you can now use the notches here to show the fold. You fold up the top, the bottom part first, and then where the notch is there, you fold down the top. And that's really what your mask is going to look like. Okay, so now you've got really the shape of the mask complete. All we have to do now is finish off these edges along the sides. So for that, you take your bias binding tape. So we're going to cut a piece for each side, making sure that we leave about 1 centimetre on either side. So you're going to cut it just slightly bigger than the mask. cut a piece for each side. So open out your bias tape and place it on the side of your mask. Now you're going to fold in that little extra part at the side. On both sides. Now it can be quite tricky to just go straight to sewing this, so one of the best things to do is to just, using a needle and thread, put a little tacking stitch along the edge here. Okay, now what you do with the bias tape is you fold it, turn it to the other side, fold back down the flap and fold it across the top. And what you can see is you're going to end up with a nice finished edge. So we're going to stitch that. Again, you can hand stitch it or you can do it on the machine. So when you're stitching it, you're going to stitch it close to the edge of the bias tape here. Once you've done that, you've got your edge finished there, just go ahead and do exactly the same on the other side. Okay, the last part of putting your mask together is to attach the elastic. So what you're going to do is cut a piece of elastic and we're going to be attaching it just onto the sides, as so. It's really important at this point that you do measure the elastic for the person you're making the mask for. Okay, so the last part then is just to stop the fraying edge of the elastic, just put a little fold in the elastic and you're going to attach that towards the top of the edge, bringing it round, doing exactly the same with the other side of the elastic, and you're going to end up with a little loop on the end. Like I said earlier, the closed side is the front of the mask, the open is the back of the mask, so do attach the elastic to the back of the mask. Okay, once you've got your elastic attached, you're good to go. So when you're putting the mask on, closed end at the front, the long piece goes at the top, the pleats go at the bottom. Just hold it top and bottom, give it a pull, and it opens up and that part goes neatly under your chin. The first one's always the hardest to make. Once you've made one, they do become an awful lot easier and a lot quicker. Thank you.